All right, so it's no secret to anybody at this point that our country is run by a whole bunch of uneducated, incompetent idiots. But that's an unfortunate reality when you elect Republicans. You get a band of bumbling baboons led by the ape in chief himself, the orange orangutan, Donald Trump. And it's unfortunate because it affects all of us, but it does make for good content and it does make for a good laugh every now and again. So I got a couple of stories that I want to talk about just because I found them funny. Let's start here with this thing about the reflecting pool, Donald Trump's latest, vanity project. So he decides, I'm going to paint the reflecting pool blue. Many people are telling me they've wanted a blue reflecting pool for a very long time. And so he decides, all right, we're going to paint this thing blue. Never mind the fact that, like, in order for it to reflect, it needs to be dark, but I digress. So they spend $14 million to drain the reflecting pool, paint it, and then put all the water back. And I'll just say right off the bat, I have no idea how much this cost. I kind of doubt it cost them $14 million. I have a very strong feeling that, it cost, like maybe a couple $1,000,000 and then Trump just pocketed the rest. But what happens when you have stagnant water, which the reflecting pool, the water doesn't really move. What happens when you have stagnant water that sits out in the sun? Well, algae grows. And so the beautiful American flag blue reflecting pool pretty much turns green almost immediately. And so they don't like this. It doesn't look the way they want it to. What do? I know. Let's send government workers to Walmart or Home Depot or wherever to go buy a bunch of hydrogen peroxide to dump into the pool to try and kill the algae. And this is the result. Here, check it out.
I'm here at the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool, and some astounding developments regarding this project, which the president himself has taken such a great interest in. You remember, $14 million was spent to drain this whole thing and to paint the bottom American flag blue, was the color he said, to make it reflect more magnificently. As you can see, it's all green now. They know that. They're trying to kill the algae. But as they're doing that, something else has happened. Check this out. That American flag blue paint, it's peeling away. The $14 million job to redo the bottom of this reflecting pool is falling apart before our eyes. The algae is still here, but the paint appears to be going away.
Why does this feel like this is just like a perfect allegory for this country under Donald Trump? Just like a giant pool of toxic sludge that's falling apart the second that they quote unquote fixed it, right? This is such a joke. They can't do the most basic things. Never mind the fact that it was totally unnecessary in the first place. Now, I did a little background on the chemistry of this, and hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, right? So there's a reason when you buy hydrogen peroxide, like this bottle right here, right? So peroxide, it always comes in a dark bottle. Okay, and the reason for that is that the bond that holds the H2O2 together, it gets split when hydrogen peroxide is exposed to sunlight. So when it gets exposed to sunlight, it splits into HOHO, which is hydroxyl, and it's unstable. It's a free radical. And what these molecules try to do is they try and stabilize again by robbing an electron from something else. And so eventually over time, what would happen is if you did this into normal water, what would happen is it would just create water and oxygen. But the idea of this was if you put hydrogen peroxide into the water, it will steal the electron from the algae and kill the algae. But turns out that hydrogen peroxide also has the ability to steal the electron from the polymer that actually binds the paint to the side of the pool, which is why you have giant chunks of paint now floating in the reflecting pool, because it just stripped that off, and now the pool is, like the paint on the pool is no longer stuck to the side of the pool. Like, this is such a joke. Like, and I swear to you, if anybody that had any basic knowledge, like, I'm not a chemist, my dad actually is, but like any basic knowledge of what would happen, they would have told you, no, don't do that. That's really stupid. they would have said, maybe install some sort of like a filtration system or something like that to get rid of the algae. No, no, no. We're going to dump gallons and gallons and gallons and gallons of hydrogen peroxide into this pool. All right, so real quick, before we move on, this is what Trump was saying about the reflecting pool project before it started falling apart. The Great Reflecting Pool that stretches between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument just opened to rave reviews, but maliciously or not, some say, like the Washington Post, it was a paint job. This was not a paint job. This was a highly sophisticated material, industrial strength, that could last for 100 years, applied by very talented people. Cut to a couple weeks later, and it's literally already falling apart. So like I said, they can't even do the most basic things, even on Trump's vanity projects, but I'm not done there. So, moving along, we got to talk about, Secretary of War Crimes, Pete Hegseth. So this story just came out and I found this one super funny. This is from Mediaite. Air Force Base hit by flu outbreak after Pete Hegseth ends vaccine mandate. Of course, of course. So, flu is swept through an Air Force basic training facility in Texas just 2 months after Hegseth ended the military's long-standing requirement that service members receive annual flu vaccinations. Per The Scoop, at least 159 recruits at Lackland Air Force Base have contracted influenza in recent weeks. 2 recruits have been hospitalized, though sources familiar with the situation told the network that actual number of cases and hospitalizations could be higher. So it goes on. This is what Pete Hegseth said. Our new policy is simple. If you, an American warrior entrusted to defend this nation, believe that the flu vaccine is in your best interest, then you're free to take it. You should. But we will not force you. This is just typical conservative right-wing, brain rot. Is the whole idea that, like, if it doesn't, if it doesn't affect me, or if I don't want to do it, then I shouldn't have to. And it really goes against the whole idea of the military. Like, the military is highly regimented for a reason. I mean, like, for basic training like this, you're sleeping next to and training next to in close quarters with several hundred other people. And it's not just about you. Like, if it's beneficial to me to take the flu vaccine. No, it's beneficial to everybody. This is why you had a whole bunch of people during COVID. They're like, I'm not going to get that vaccine. I don't want to get COVID shot. And it's like, it's not about you. It's about stopping the spread for everybody, not about like whether you think you're going to get COVID or whether you think you're going to get hospitalized. And again, this is the reasoning behind this is so astronomically stupid, especially considering like it's the military. When you sign up for the military, if they tell you to do something, you do it. This would be like me being like, the drill instructor wakes me up at 4 a.m. and I say, you know what? I don't feel like that's beneficial to me. I feel like it's more beneficial to me to just keep sleeping. Or, I don't think it's beneficial for me to cut my hair to prevent, the spread of lice or whatever it is. Just like the whole reasoning is completely idiotic. But again, this is what happens when you put somebody like Pete Hegseth in charge of the military, when you put somebody like Donald Trump in charge of, the entire country. When you put, like vaccine skeptics like RFK Jr. in charge of Health and Human Services. He's an environmental attorney. He has zero degrees, 0 medical degrees. And he, I mean, like under him, now we have like, I can't remember if it's measles or if it's polio or if it's both, but like we have diseases that were pretty much eradicated by vaccines that are now we're having a resurgence of these diseases because he's taking away these mandates that people actually get vaccinated. It's such a joke. So like I said, I just wanted to talk about those two just to have a good laugh. Speaking of having a good laugh, I'm going to cover Trump at the G7 summit in just a second. That was, man. That was an embarrassment of epic proportions, so make sure you check that out. Like the video, sub to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Please do click the bell as well. That way YouTube will actually notify you whenever I upload another one. And I'll catch everybody in the next one. Peace.